Howdy, hello, and welcome to the third episode of the Preferred Podcast. I'm your host, director, producer, and writer, Sajay Preferred. Today, we're welcoming back to the channel Amber Valentine.
Howdy, bitch. Yes, it's me, Miss Sajay. Don't forget that E. Shady whore serves the tea, the only preferred you'll ever see.
How are you, Amber?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's been so long since we've seen you on the channel. Before we get into the episode, some exciting news. Amber will be joining me every Wednesday from now on for the Preferred Podcast as my official co-host. This decision came with a lot of thought and planning, and ideally having a special guest sit and watch the episode with me at midnight after I get off work is a rather difficult decision, so why not make it easier with another night rat? Amber, what are your thoughts on joining the Preferred Podcast?
I'm excited.
I mean, it's super easy because we literally watched the episode.
And honestly, we've played so well together.
Yeah. And so it just, especially like, as mentioned, we're both night rats, so.
Yeah, and I'm not a huge fan of that, but
yeah.
Slay, I guess.
But, here we are. But with more details to come on that later in the episode, let's get into our topic of Slay.
Slay!
Today's topic of Slay is the very intricate webbing of casting positions in the drag community. With a lot of personal experience from the both of us, we're going to talk about all the brights and frights of cast positions in the drag community. Are you ready to get into it, Amber?
Oh, this is getting interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta sit up for this one.
So, what is a casting position? What are cast members of the drag community? So, it's kind of the same when you think of theater, right?
Right.
In theater, you have a cast, you have a supporting cast, you even have a tech crew sometimes, and you have a director, you have the person who is in charge, and it's kind of the same thing with a drag show.
And technically, each one is its own character, too.
Right,
on top of
yeah.
that, so.
When it comes to drag shows, obviously, drag queens don't all just show up at a place, pull out different songs and are like, hey, let's do this.
Right.
So obviously there's organization behind drag shows, hence where all the casting and all the show directing comes from. And obviously this is happening in bar scenes, I mean, there's, if there's like pageants, it happens in pageants as well. And of course of like competitions and so on and so forth of like the different casting positions and all that good stuff. But the main topic of today is in bar scenes is what we're ideally associating with. And with that, you mainly have your cast members, your special guest, and then your show director. And usually your show director plays the host spot as well. But, those special guests are usually people who are booked from either out of town or maybe even in town, just a rotating spot. When it came to your first starting as a drag, was yours from directly being a cast spot or was it through bookings?
When I started, I was doing only open stages for my first year until I started getting actual bookings. And then, so about October, November of 22, and by the New Year's when I had a cast spot. But, I mean, I kind of, on top of progressing quickly, I also kind of had a step in the door.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I'm happy with my cast spot.
Yeah.
I have my people, I have my following, and my following's growing, so I'm not mad whatsoever with it.
And that's usually what comes from casting or having a cast spot is you get a following, and once you have a following, you, I guess you would say, solidify yourself in a place of being a cast member. First casting, I'm assuming, was at Quest.
Mm-hmm.
Was that your first time hosting as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And see, that's a lot of people don't.
Well, other than actually, my very first time hosting was at the very first DIY.
A lot of entertainers are scared of dipping their toes in hosting. They feel like, and yeah, it can be a lot, but if you really know how to just have a conversation with people and an audience, it really isn't. It really isn't that
and
at all.
Especially being in the bar scene, being a host, you got to be able to play with your audience.
Yeah.
And the good thing about a bar scene is the limits are so much further out.
But I always think that hosting comes in handy a lot, not just with drag, but like taking that to be able to like talk to just a large group of people. You know what I mean? And I mean, I've always thought drag, I know for a fact, brought me out of my shell even more. And I feel like it can do that for a lot of people. But even in the sense of these things, like becoming a cast member can really show you're putting in, it's a job. It really is. And that's what a lot of people mistake with drag, is that it is a job at point. You know what I mean? If you're a cast member at a certain club, doing drag nights on Friday, that is your job to be there. You're being paid to be there.
Yep.
If you have a booking as a special guest, you are that cast member of that night as that special guest.
Yep.
But with those bookings that we got and eventually becoming on cast at certain places, it took us a lot. It took us to a lot of different places, and it also took us to a lot of levels in drag too. Because ideally, that's what it is in the bar scene of drag. Is it's just different levels. You start off as an open stage queen.
Yep.
You start off doing the open stages to get your name out there, and then eventually they'll book you as a special guest, and then they'll book you a few times, and then a cast member position will come available. You can possibly get that, and then you work yourself up to show director. Mm-hmm. Of course, it does not always happen like that.
No.
Of course, with a lot of things in life, you have riggery. So let's get into some riggery of cast positions, because it's unfortunately, it is quite, what's the word I'm looking for? Popular. There we go. Common, there we go. It is quite common. Huge thing about the Birmingham scene is they like to make a lot of their people who are booked as special guests and even as cast members, most of their friends, which is understandable, but it does definitely limit the opportunities to others. And I definitely feel like it's unfair. You know what I mean? I feel like casting positions should definitely be in the sense of a casting call. You know what I mean? I've always felt like that. In the sense of me being a show director, which I was going to, kind of divert myself into that road of show directing as a whole, because that's in my opinion, totally different playing field.
Right.
Show directing and being a cast member, two totally different things.
Right.
And even just being a host and show director, like if you're just the host and not the show director, two totally different things. You know what I mean? But even in the sense of me having my shows, I don't necessarily do a casting call, but I always keep in mind the people who I've seen performed and who I have worked with, and kind of taken that as a casting call. You know what I mean?
Right.
See what I want in my shows and what I don't want in my shows. And not in just the sense of drag, but personality.
Right.
Head to toe prepared.
I would say, and just to be able to actually entertain your people.
Yeah.
And when you realize that you have people that can't come just for you or come because of you, that adds a lot. Mm-hmm. And I did not do a casting call. I was pulled on because of who the show director was at the time. Mm-hmm. Now, I started very rock bottom with it though. And I've worked my way up to where I've hosted now, which I was kind of just thrown into it, but I'm happy that I was.
Well, and see, that's my different aspect of it, because I genuinely worked up to be a cast member. You know what I mean? Like, there was no riggery for me. Right. I had to fight against the riggery. Right. And I feel like that is a huge idea in my head of why I'm so against it, because that's what I fought against my whole entire starting of drag. You know what I mean?
Right.
And as mentioned, as being a show director of the Preferred Show in Dothan, at Dothan Dance Club, I don't really allow that to happen.
Right.
Even without even trying, I managed to always book the most weirdest cast of just crazy individuals who are the missing puzzle pieces of different puzzles. Right. You know what I mean? And that's something that I hold in my heart, just because they're all genuinely my friends. But it's not in the sense of I'm only booking my friends, because I want to get so many people from Dothan, but I'm having to bring so many people from Birmingham because people in Dothan are scared to come out.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's really, I would want, if it was me personally making the decision, I would have maybe one, if anything, two Birmingham entertainers coming with me, and then 3 to 4 Dothan Entertainers.
Right.
Because that's the whole point. It's their home bar. It's my original home bar.
Right.
But my whole point of being a show director is to show off drag, not to make my friends look good.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because ideally, I'm still going to look better than any of them.
Wow.
So this is my second time show directing, actually. You've never show directed. Do you plan on show directing in the future? Do
I
you
would
see
love
yourself?
to eventually.
It's definitely a stressful situation.
Right.
I like it because, I have always liked manager positions and jobs and always being in charge. That's why I like it. And it's drag on top of that.
Well,
you know
and
what I mean?
I also tend to be very creative. So I want to be able to have that chance to be able to like make it my show and like show what I can put out into, the drag world of like shows and stuff.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, even talking to or helping you with stuff, like there's creative stuff. Look at that wall. And I just pull it out of my
And well, see, that's a huge thing for me is I'm in it for the behind the scenes, the creating, you know what I mean? Like, I sit here all the time and make the videos for the teasings because that's my favorite part is teasing for a video.
Right.
And the pre-production of a video and stuff like that, which there's actually about to be a trailer dropping soon for the Preferred Few that I've been working on. So stay tuned for that. But that definitely is what is a huge plus for me with show directing.
Right.
Of course, there's negatives, such as it is a lot at moments. Sometimes you had to bite the dust and, in situations of paying your cast or you getting paid, if you're a good show director, you pay your cast.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And sometimes we're faced with those situations and it has to be done. But in my opinion, that's what makes a good show director. And that's genuinely what we need as show director, people who genuinely want to show off their cast members for them doing their own style of drag.
Right.
And to just show off drag in general.
Right.
Well, that's going to do it for our topic of Slay, but get ready to vroom vroom because it's time for Speed Racing. With Amber joining me yet again and viewing the most recent episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 16, it's time for us to take that view to a review with our weekly segment of Speed Racing. A little recap of last week's episode, we'll review the first 7 group of girls who entered the workroom. Who were your favorites of that episode?
Q for sure.
Q was stunning.
And Saphira.
Of course, we love Saphira Crystal.
Love Saphira.
The one for all, Saphira Crystal. My favorites were definitely Saphira Crystal, and I would replace Q with Dawn, but Q is probably a close third to me.
Those are definitely, I'm seeing a good top 3.
Also, something just to mention, I don't know, I'm one of those girlies who watch the Entertainment Weekly, as mentioned, she's kind of a shady girl. And we meet another shady girl in this episode, which we'll get into.
Okay. Come on, Taxi.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
curiosity is what kills the cat.
Yeah, I know, right? Who are your not so favorites of the episode from last week?
Tsunami Muse, unfortunately,
Yes,
and I
agreed.
am so sad I have to say that. And a mandatory meeting, but Morphine come very close.
Yes. I would say just because of the runway, Morphine would definitely. The talent was still sickening. So really quick, we're gonna hop into this mini challenge of the second episode with the second group of girls, and then we're gonna talk about the entrances when we talk about the talents and the runways. But the SheMV mini challenge was super cute.
It was adorable. I loved it.
I thought that was such a good idea. I don't know why, honestly, it's taken us this long to get like a DMV challenge of some sort, and I can definitely see them taking this further and doing like a full like acting challenge with it. But I think something that immediately set off this mini challenge was T.S. Madison.
Hilarious.
Of course, we are a stan of T.S. Madison, and we got Love Connie again.
And Love Connie actually looks pretty good.
Yeah, RuPaul said we're gonna give you a paycheck and an upgrade.
And that hair was clean.
Yes,
girl.
she was looking good.
She was looking good.
We're not going to talk about all of the mini challenge performances, but just to kind of briefly touch up on like first impressions through the mini challenge, I guess you would say. The first one was Plasma. So my issue with Plasma is Plasma gives theater gay, but I'm a tween. You know what I mean? Plasma gives very much to the energy of like a little gay boy whose best friend was their grandma. And it shows a lot. And that's not a bad thing because I'm one of those.
So am I.
But the issue was We don't show our bleach.
No.
And I feel like it definitely sees through with Plasma. And also, I feel like Plasma is constantly putting on an act.
See, but like, I also do love that old school Hollywood look because we don't get that very often.
With the makeup.
I mean, to each their own, I guess.
I'm not sure about that. We also have Hershey in this episode who looked straight up like Cam Cam out of drag.
I'll see that. That's hilarious.
If you don't know who Cam Cam is, you can find them on the Preferred Few on my YouTube at The Only Preferred. But Cam Cam is a local Birmingham entertainer, and out of drag, they look very identical to Hershey, which is insane to me.
I see that.
And they weren't the only one who reminded me of someone else in my life. Megami reminded me a lot of my drag auntie, Miss Anna Valentine. So much of the makeup looked very similar to me. And just in whole, Anna is like a very like huge anime and cosplayer person, and so is Megami. So I don't know, it was crazy for me to see someone who reminded me so much of someone that I, started doing drag around. That was a nice little touch, I guess, of the season. Plain Jane was someone that I feel like we both were very excited for with this episode. And although I don't think she lived up to our expectations, we'll get into that. We'll get into that later. She immediately off the bat was stupid.
Let's just say we're about to do some reading for some film on this episode.
And Nymphia is such a cutie in and out of drag. Yeah.
She is. Starting to show a little versatility. So
yeah. But before we get into the actual talent, the queens find out about the Rated Queen, and we kind of find out that our expected to be favorite Plain Jane is a little shady.
A little?
She's Miss Shady Jane.
We've officially changed her name to Shady Jane, so...
Yeah, she's giving the shade, she's giving the run for the villain's money.
It's like the shady of the shade. Like, it's horrible, but it's so good.
It's so good. And we see this when they talk about the Rated Queen. Her perspective on it is very interesting. And also, I feel like a lot of the queens are kind of sniffing out the immunity. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of right there with them. I feel like there's a lot more that they're not saying about the immunity. And I'm curious to see what it is. But we found out at the end of the episode, not to jump forward, but we found out that the Rated Queen is actually leaving after the third episode. So it makes me wonder about the immunity. Will the immunity be staying the entire time? Is it only for the first few episodes?
Right.
Will they be able to know the challenge before? Do they have to pick it the week before? Like,
you know what I mean? And they gotta be able to give that third queen that wins it a chance to use it. But like, what if you have an immunity and you don't end up in the bottom?
I don't know. I'm curious to see what plays out.
Right.
But getting into the talent show, last episode we had the MTV Spring Break theme challenge show. And this one we had the Queen Choice Awards, which was obviously a knockoff of the Teen Choice Awards, with our host
Britney Spears again.
I'm so over it. Like, why is she back? And also, she's literally wearing the Slave for You outfit, but she doesn't do Britney, remember?
No, not at all. But she did get slimed.
Yeah, I was about to say that's the only good part.
And she fell
when she got slimed,
and that was so funny. That was hilarious.
Yeah. But getting into the talent show itself, our first one we had was Geneva Carr, which entering in, first off, the Meet the Queen, she was one I was very excited for because I immediately saw a big old school Texas drag. I mean, she stated in the Meet the Queen, so that's what she was about. And I was like, slay, that's like my favorite type of drag. Let's get into it. She's going to be my favorite.
It's a very popular style of drag.
Yeah, especially with the latest season of Mistress. And, even Sasha Colby serving up old school drag. I don't know. She came in very shy. Even this outfit you mentioned gave very cheerleader-esque, and it wasn't very big besides the hair, in my opinion.
And the hair still could have been bigger.
Yeah. And she just seems to be lacking, which going into the talent show, she seemed to hold back. She did this mix where she started off trying to be comedical, and I say try because...
Yeah, it was there.
I don't know. She just was holding back, and it was very visible.
Right. She definitely held back quite a bit. There was so much more she could have played with that skirt in the first half because that, when you have something that flows that good, you play the whole time with it. And then, I can definitely tell the second half that she is a dancer.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, I know for a fact, because I stalked her Instagram whenever she was announced as cast. I know for a fact she's a dancer. She did not show the dancing material that I've seen on her socials that I know she can do in this talent show.
Right.
And that's where I'm a little confused.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I'm very bored.
Yeah. And then getting into the runway, with the runway category being Made You Look. And this is, I'm going to touch bases on this real quick. This was a little confusing. Apparently this category was supposed to have a reveal in it. And that was like a part of the assignment. And I'm confused because Made You Look does not scream reveal to me at all. If anything, it screams a garment that is so eye-catching and made you look. You know what I mean? I don't get where a reveal was necessary with this category.
See, and we didn't even notice that there wasn't supposed to be a reveal until like halfway through it.
When everyone started revealing, I was like, oh yeah, they all did have a reveal. And then when they critiqued a specific entertainer, which we'll talk about that shortly, for not having a reveal, I was like, wait, there was supposed to be a reveal?
I thought they all just happened to be in sync.
But with Geneva, she went from this mariachi look into this dress look as her reveal. I will admit the reveal was super clean.
Super clean.
And that's about where it ends for me.
Yeah. I am happy that the gown was just barely long enough to cover underneath.
Barely.
For a second, I was worried. When she spun out in it, I was like, oh no.
She was clinching to the ground line. She was barely pulling through.
Like, it was strapped to the ankle.
There should have been a necklace. And I feel like...
This girl's not wearing a necklace?
Exactly. At least she wasn't wearing a breastplate without a necklace.
Right, exactly.
But...
It was definitely very spring break.
Yeah, it was too basic a little for
Sunday.
me. The wig was not it for me. I'm already not a fan of tinsel hair wigs. And when you add a stiff styling into that, such as a lot of hairspray, it makes the tinsel... even more, which makes the wig look super, super cheap.
And like, tinsel looks cheap in general, unless you're Cher.
Yeah. Cher. The thing is, I was expecting her to be a huge makeup girl this season, and her makeup was a little harsh. And not in the Trixie Mattel harsh, or it's meant to be harsh, but like the unblended harsh. So I don't know. I'm a little disappointed by Geneva this episode. I'm gonna give it a 8 for the talent and a 6 for the runway.
So I'm gonna give her a 7 for her talent and a 5 for her runway.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not remembering her.
Yeah.
And that's not good.
I agree. Next up, she walks into the workroom saying she did not prepare for this.
Iconic.
We have Hershey, and Hershey I was not impressed by this runway, or this entrance look, which just me solely, I'm not a fan of the pattern, but that's just me. And she completely threw that out the window when she said her entrance line, because I was like, relatable. Yeah. And then it cut to her out of drying, and I was like, oh, Cam Cam, I love Cam Cam.
She looks good in purple hair, though.
Yeah, I agree.
Purple hair was sickening.
And then moving on to the talent, she did this mix, which was nothing but branding herself, in my opinion. And not only herself, but the show as well. She mentioned how to walk that duck.
Needs to be a little cleaner.
Yeah. She showed us this, how to keep your wig on and how to be, I guess, overall a professional queen in this mix. It was very cute. I will say she did keep that wig on, although that wig needs to be brushed. I don't know why she was in the jungle. That was super confusing.
At least I had a theme.
Yeah, the outfit was enough for me in the talent, because the boots, immediately, my eyes went straight to it, and I wanted to throw up.
I feel like the shorts needed to be a little shorter.
Yeah.
I think for a drag queen, a short, too long like that could go in boy shorts.
Yeah.
And that's not what we want.
It was very chaotic as a whole.
Right. A good chaos.
Yeah.
It definitely pulled me in. And did we see as much as we want of her? No, but...
Can she dance?
I know.
Because that was something we were like, ooh?
Right.
Ooh? Is she a dancer?
So now I'm really curious.
Yeah. And then, moving into the runway, her reveal was, it's chocolate. It's chocolate.
It was.
I love this runway. I love the first coat, the reveal that she did. It was super cute. One of my biggest critiques of the runway look, which was kind of a shocker for me, was not the length. I thought it was going to be the length, and I'm a length girl. Shockingly, that wasn't it for me. For me, it was the weird trimming of gold coming out of the hip. I didn't really understand that. And you mentioned earlier it could be like a piece of the ticket. I don't know, just out of the hip. Why would you bite into the hip and see the golden ticket?
Right. I feel like it should have been more like the jacket reveal. It could have been like a gold jacket.
I like the runway a lot. For me, I would give the talent an 8, the runway an 8 as well.
The talent a 9, And I give the runway a 10. I just thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah,
And
it
the
was
concept.
cute. It was cute, and I love the latex as a whole. My main thing with this is with Hershey as a whole is I will say from the meet the queens I was not expecting much. After the second episode, her first episode, I'm left wanting more, and I feel like that's a good thing. Right. Next up, we have Plasma, who enters the workroom in this very old school Hollywood get up. For me, Plasma is still a now.
She is for me also. Now, I do love that old school Hollywood vibe that she gives because we don't really see that a whole lot. You'll get like maybe one or two queens that you get to see doing it. So I love that. I feel like she has a lot of work that she's got to do. It's almost like we reintroduced a TikTok queen, even though she's not.
Yeah. To me, it just gives very much so like her as a person.
Right.
Gives very much so that little gay kid whose best friend was his grandma and watched everything from his grandma and now feels like if you are not on his level,
right,
his grandma level.
I definitely feel like definitely one of the first eliminations.
Yeah.
Is kind of where I'm sitting with her.
But getting to her talent, it's still a no for me. She does this whole get up where she does way too many things in one. She goes from lip syncing her own singing to burlesque ? To impersonations to singing live ? It was very much so a hot mess. And Michelle puts it best. It's better to have one good talent than have none. Mm-hmm. Because that's very much so what it was giving, that it was literally her being like, oh, I don't really know what my one good talent is, so let me throw all these these things into this one mix. It was too much. Which, honestly, if she had to pick out of any of those, I think her strongest, which even still wasn't even strong, her strongest was definitely the impersonations. And even then it was just... We've seen it before. Right, exactly, you know. And the burlesque aspect was so, like, confusing to me. I didn't even understand that. Yeah. No. She took off a pair of gloves to reveal another pair of gloves and a necklace. And a necklace. And then she revealed some note cards. I've never heard of a necklace reveal until this episode. Me either. I was definitely very confused. Mm-hmm. Once she got to the impressions, I did kind of find them a little funny, not gonna lie. Yeah. I would just have loved to laugh a lot more than what I did. Getting into the runway, we see a little bit more of that burlesque as she goes from a pincushion tomato into a burlesque pincushion tomato ? And I will admit the idea as a whole was very unique. I relate a lot with her story because my grandma had a pincushion tomato when I was sewing and learning how to sew for my grandma. Yep. My only issue with it is it's still... I don't know. It's very, look at me, you know what I mean? Right. She gives very pick-me girl, and I hate to say that, but it's the truth. Right. I loved the concept. The reveals, especially because she was one of the only ones that had multiple reveals. Yeah. And it's hard a lot of times, especially us as drag queens, we understand that. A lot of times a reveal can be hard, let alone multiple reviews. Let alone to pull off the reveal. You know what I mean? I loved her concept. Her reveals were so clean. I personally feel like she kind of stepped it up a little bit from her talent, just still not very much. But when she turned around, she definitely looked like she was wearing a diaper. Yeah, the leotard cutout was not a correct shape for me, and I feel like that's gonna be, I don't know. I feel like it was too. It was. Like mentioned, the concept itself was very, very nice. Definitely it was just I wouldn't have thought about. Yeah, it was a little messy. Too comedical for me, if that's even a thing. You know what I mean? Like I don't get where the burlesque had to meet the tomato pincushion. Right. Yeah. That I guess that's my point. But for me, the talent was a 7. The runway concept was an 8. For me, I'm gonna have to put the talent at a 5. Mm-hmm. The runway, because of the reels and because of the concept, I would give it an 8. But that's literally the only reason why I would. Mm-hmm. Next up, we have the self-announced Queen of Flip. She immediately comes in and says she's about to flip stuff up. Maya Amon LePage, which I have seen the TikToks, I have seen the videos, and I must admit I am obsessed with the performances. Because she's the one that performs at the Palace, right? Yes, correct. She's the one that does the crazy flips. She will get on. What I know her from is getting to the very, very top of the ceiling and putting her legs on the ceiling and then just dropping into a split.
Yeah, she'll do it in the doorway. She'll do it from the rafters.
Yes.
Is she the one that does it from the trolley that drives by too?
No, that is Queen of the Bus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't remember her exact name, but I love her too.
Mm-hmm.
She is an icon as well. She's a trans icon too.
Oh, okay. So.
But with Miss Maya, my issue I have seen with Miss Maya, because I'm one of those girls where I like to watch the Entertainment Weekly interviews and stuff like that, and really get to. My favorite is to like find things that they say that are spoilers that they don't know they're admitting it spoilers,
right? And
then finding it out in the season. But her fashion, that's where my question with her comes, because I did not like this orange that she walked in with.
And she looked good with the orange. I think it was just more so it was very overwhelming.
Orange? It was an overwhelmingly amount of orange.
It was a lot of orange.
It was.
Definitely would have, the hair, I would have definitely would have seen her in a more like a brunette or a black hair instead.
Yeah.
That could have kind of pulled from it. And she highlights the center of her face so much that orange was really over highlighting her, I feel.
Getting into her talent was very sickening. It was definitely Kenny Davenport from All Stars 3.
Yeah.
But times 10. That's immediately what it gave me, though, the vibes. The song, in my opinion, was questionable, especially for her talent. I felt like a very old school pageant song would have worked perfectly for that. The outfit, once again, was questionable. This makeup, I must admit, I'm obsessed with the over highlight of the makeup. It gives very Luxe Noir London. I will say though, with this outfit specifically, I think because of so much silver, it definitely washed her out a little bit. And especially with the eye makeup, it washed it out just a tad bit. So I would say maybe she needs to kind of focus on that for a few.
Same idea that I got with the orange.
But maybe more so just, I think it was the outfit, because it was a silver outfit, and I think it was really heightening those white zones. But the talent was sickening. I love the talent itself. Getting into the runway, as mentioned, I feel like one of her struggles is going to be her fashion. And I am not a fashion girl, so I definitely get it. I definitely understand. But I was not here for the runway. And it also gave reminders of morphine.
Yeah.
From the reveal into a bodysuit. It
Bathing
just
suit.
Yeah. And the old lady persona that she was putting at first, I didn't understand. I mean, maybe it was a callback to when she fell asleep in the mini challenge.
That was hilarious.
Still a little confused about that. But for the talent, I'm going to give it an 8, specifically just because of the song choice. And for the runway, I'm going to give it a 6.
So for the challenge, first off, lip sync assassin.
I definitely agree.
Hands down. I would give her challenge a 9, only because she came and she flipped it. However, I know she can flip it more than what she did.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see more of her. Her runway, I loved the colors that she had going, but I personally did not notice a reveal until it was called out by a judge. So that really kind of dumbed me down. So I'm going to give her runway a 5. I just really did not like it.
Yeah. I'm excited to see what she brings, because even seeing her out of drag, which I, obviously on her TikToks, you don't really get to see a lot of that because it's her amazing performance videos. I was so gooped. I was like, this person who looks like this out of drag does those things. So I'm very excited to see what she has to bring.
I would say sometimes people just really surprise you with what they can do.
Yeah.
And she's definitely one that, I may not been 100% impressed with her on the first episode, but she's definitely got my attention. So she just better step that foot, because if not, I'm going to get bored real quick. Yeah.
Next up, we have the Queen of Bananas, who slips into the workroom with this crazy little banana look and shows all of us her nana. I thought this look was a setup to an incredible personality that we were about to get, and I was very, very correct.
I was definitely very uncomfortable with her entrance. But it was a good uncomfortable.
Yeah.
At first I was like,
it had
this
levels of
Yeah.
uncomfortability.
Yeah. But I ended up with it afterwards. I'm curious to see what she can do. I personally, I don't know, I almost feel like she's not going to make it very far. Maybe like the fourth one going home, I feel somewhere around there, but I don't know. I'm kind of iffy on her at the moment.
She definitely has a huge personality, which is going into the talent was something that I hoped she was going to convey because she's a silly goose and I love a good silly goose. But unfortunately, she did not. She decided to share her heritage, which I thought was very beautiful how she shared it. The outfit was incredibly beautiful for her talent. The overall dance moves and the way, once again, she just showed her heritage. It was very, very beautiful. The color pattern, everything. The dance moves, everything. I just wish I was expecting that silliness. And I was like, this talent, she's about to do something so stupid.
Right.
And she did it. Right. And I mean, it was definitely a choice. Would I say it was for the better? Possibly. I was disappointed because once again I was expecting that silliness, but it was very beautiful.
I love the culture twist and especially the sleeve work that she was giving. Yeah. She was giving very
she did
Dawn.
That little pop out.
Yeah, she was giving very Dawn with the sleeves.
And it's something I don't know a lot of people noticed, but the headpiece was moving too. Did you notice that?
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it was moving.
Oh, okay, slave. I definitely want to see more. And I know you had made this comment about her shoes.
Yes.
I feel like it could just be a culture thing.
Yeah.
I also feel like referencing back to, you were expecting that comedy. I don't know. I kind of liked that she took a serious take on it because a lot of times you get comedy queens on here that can't step out of their comedy comfort zone.
Yeah.
To be able to do something serious. So I'm glad she's starting with the versatility. I'm excited to see what can come of her for sure. I just hope she don't disappoint.
Yeah. And getting into the runway, she does bring forward that silly side again with this banana look yet again.
So is everything just going to be bananas?
That was my little concern was I hope her, we had, Monet with the sponge. I hope hers is not bananas.
I hope this is the last banana.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Because she genuinely does have a great personality, even showing through with this outfit, which I loved. It went from a ripe banana to a banana display to a banana going through it was the life cycle of the banana.
Which is very, very neat. And that hair?
That hair was I was just about to say, everything was still so polished. Which is what I love about her, because she's very comedical, very silly. But she's still polished and she's so pretty. I feel like that is such a catch with comedy queens is bad makeup. And I hate to say it, but sometimes it's the truth.
Right.
And she was very, 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 very gorgeously pretty.
She was.
Yeah.
Now this is, as I've said, for almost everybody on the season, unfortunately, I just want to see more. I don't know. I just feel like it's Drag Race. You have to show more than what us as just regular local entertainers can show, and it's just not happening.
Yeah, I agree. And especially with someone who showed us so much of her personality already, why would you only cut it off at that?
I would say, because especially a lot of them started off so good in their entrance, and then it just fell.
Yeah, and we'll not to spoiler alert at the end, but that was something we kind of took with as a whole from this episode was we felt like a lot of the first impressions, a lot of the first impressions were a lot stronger than the second group impressions. But yeah, I guess we can only see, right?
I guess we'll find out.
Next up, we have my drag auntie herself, Amber Valentine. Just kidding. We have Megami, who in the entrance look served this very cute Antichrist look.
I was living for it.
I'm obsessed with it. And she did mention that she was a cosplayer queen, which I am definitely super excited for. I feel like we haven't had fully since Rock'em Sakura. So I'm super excited to get into that gig. And then getting into the talent itself, I was obsessed with the talent. A lot of people had their own personal opinions on it, which we'll get into in just a second. But she did this mix that I personally close to my heart because it was talking about the drag bans happening in the United States. And as two people who are performers in Alabama, we know this very specifically. And as me, myself, and I did a bunch of mixes dealing with this whenever it was happening to show off that we are not going anywhere. And I had three specific versions of this. I had a G version, a PG-13, and a R-rated version. So when I saw this, I immediately fell in love with it. I thought it was very smart. I thought it was well done. Could she have done a little bit more? Yeah, of course. And a lot of people kept wondering what the talent was, and you and I recognized it immediately. The talent was the lip sync.
Oh, her lip sync was so spot
It
on.
was incredibly tight. It was incredibly spot on. And yeah, lip syncing itself is not really a talent, but that more so ties in with performing.
Exactly.
And
a lip sync, if you can get it that clean, that is
yeah,
your performing.
yeah,
Like,
because a lot of these drag race gays, we'll go with that. A lot of these drag race gays seem to think that they know what drag is all the way through full and full when they've never been to a local drag show. And they feel as if that you have to do these stunts, you have to be a performer through and through, a dancer to be a good performer, and that is so not true. Yeah. Those who can sit and portray the emotion of the song just by standing there and lip syncing the song, that is a good performer. Megami mixed in with her, she mentioned being a cosplayer. I feel like her shows, she proves nothing to be but just a star. Like, I feel like she probably makes these weird, quirky mixes to this one specific theme and just goes crazy. You know what I mean? So I definitely feel like she could have done a little bit more, but I thought it was incredible.
I was definitely confused a little bit about it. But she definitely could have done quite a bit more with the flag.
Yeah.
The flag stayed folded up in her hand.
Yeah.
The whole time. The song absolutely fell in love with.
I love that song. Oh my god.
It was definitely a powerful and needed message, but I still wanted more of it.
And speaking of messages, something that I was unaware of until you brought it to my attention is that Megami was receiving a lot of backlash for spreading this message on Reddit. And this is something that I very strongly disagree with. I don't feel like she should have received the backlash. And you were telling me that a lot of it was people saying that they felt portraying this message on this platform was kind of pointless when most of it was queer people who were watching the platform.
They feel that a platform that queer people or allies of queer people watch, it's pointless to portray that message because it's, I mean, really, in their eyes, there's no point because it's queer people. But at the same time, like, queer people are still learning.
Yeah.
As well as our allies on top of that. Like,
yeah.
Even us as drag queens, we're still learning so much on top of that.
Yeah.
And we always just have to have that message, no matter the audience that's watching.
Mm-hmm. And also, not to mention, these Republicans and these, courts they're still trying to put in these anti-drag laws, anti-trans laws. Like, they're not being stopped just because we aren't hearing about it.
Exactly.
And what really bothers me about this is a lot of the people who are saying this are these drag race gays who their only concept of drag is what they see on RuPaul's Drag Race. And they do no form of help for their local drag to support their local drag. So therefore, if a lot of these bans do go in place, they don't really care because all they want to see is what is on television, and that is what is very wrong. Another huge similar issue is the message of HIV and AIDS. People now think I actually had my show in Dothan. I was talking with the owner of the club about how a lot of people now don't really care to help raise money for these places who are helping with people who have HIV and AIDS because they think, oh, well, there's PrEP now, and PrEP is so accessible to everyone that, we don't have to worry about that anymore, and that is so completely false. My main whole point with this is a message is meant to be shared. Someone is sharing that message. Let them share that message.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I mean? There's no, you telling someone that they don't need to share that message is literally so disgusting to me. Right. Like that is on a different level that honestly really, 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 really bothered me.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and on top of that, like, if we stop spreading this message anywhere, we're gonna slowly start putting ourselves back in
Yeah.
the closet, and
Anyway,
we
it's
can't
just
do
us.
that.
It's at that point, it's us just giving in. You know what I mean? Like we might as well like vote for the next Republican Party because.
Exactly.
But moving on to her runway, I was absolutely obsessed with her runway. This was a very a realistic angel from the Bible. There we go. And a lot of people gave this hate. I once again loved it. This is where we saw the critique of the reveal come in, and I was a little confused as to what that had to do with anything.
Right.
And she played it off by saying the hand or the eyes on her hands were her reveal, which I mean, hey, if it works, it works.
I mean, it was a choice.
Yeah, I genuinely love this look though. I love the reference. I love the idea. I only had really two critiques, which one was being I wish the structure on the back was a little bit more structured. I feel like that would have made it like, even better. And then my only other critique was I feel like we're gonna see a lot of that mini cocktail 60s like dress silhouette on her, and I want to see something different. And I know it's just the first episode, but I really feel like with her being, such a cosplayer, she could really pull out like a demon like sex worker, and that would be like,
Oh
what I
yeah,
mean?
100%. See, and watching the runway, and us taking notes, I kept saying that I just couldn't think of anything, and the only thing I was able to write down was everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like the concept was everything, the look was everything. I do agree with like the silhouette part.
Yeah.
Even if she just added some kind of belt or just kind of gave her that little bit of waist,
Yeah.
I feel like it would have upped it just a little bit more. But I truly loved it.
Yeah.
I very much enjoyed it.
And I really don't feel like she should have been read for the reveal when, I mean, ultimately, I don't know. Maybe that's
Right.
just me. But for her talent, I'm going to give it a 10. For her runway, I'm going to give her an 9.
N9?
A 9.
I'm gonna give her talent a 10, only because the message was as needed. This is the only time I'm gonna give her a 10 if she don't give it to us though, because the message did need a little bit more. But I'm gonna give her a 10 for her talent, and I'm gonna give her a 10 for her runway too. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah. Moving on to who was our most anticipated of the episode, Miss Shady Jane. In the runway or in the entrance, we get nothing but and comedy, followed immediately by comedy actually, which is like my favorite type of drag. I love the comedy that is like so stupid that it's glamorous. And also we see that despite the stereotype that comedy queens can't paint, Plain Jane is beat.
She
extremely
is
beat
for the gods.
Yes.
And like, I mean, I love the comedy aspect, especially because it gives a Jimbo sense of humor. And I also read that some people are saying that she's copying Jimbo. And I mean, just because you have the same similar sense of humor as somebody else doesn't mean you're copying them.
Yeah.
So I guess I don't understand where they're getting that because, I mean, she's funny. That's a win.
Moving on to the talent show, we were left a little bit disappointed. I literally wrote confused and not amused. I don't know. This was not what I was expecting. It obviously, did the job because it made RuPaul laugh. But I was a little disappointed. Especially when it came to the mustard and the ketchup on the boobs. That was like the final note for me.
Right. And I mean, I guess at this point we can say she's a comedy queen.
Yeah.
She's also a look queen, a little bit. So I'm excited to get more into what she can do with her comedy. I don't know. Other than that, I didn't understand the reasoning, or I mean, better yet, understand the seasoning of this.
I mean,
talent.
look at her. Is there any seasoning on that burger? What is a burger finger to? What is
She said it, but I don't remember.
I don't even know if that's like a realistic thing. Like I don't know. I was very disappointed. And getting into the runway, I was still immediately when she came out, I was like, yes, this is what I wanted. This is everything. She's serving like Russian hooker in the snow. I was obsessed with it. And then she does the reveal, and it immediately went from a 10 to a 0. I hated the reveal, and it could be because I'm not a fan of foosball. Anything foosball related makes me disgusted. Or it also could be that Daisy Dukes in drag is the biggest no for me.
Right.
But I was a huge... It, like, completely even ruined the first look for me.
So, I feel like first, her face is beat more than it has been so far this episode. Her face is stamped, and I live for it.
And something that I give her credit on with her face is she has rosé eyebrows. Like, she has some thick eyebrows, and she glues down her brows, and you cannot clock that at all.
That's why I shaved half my brows off, because I got tired of it.
Yes.
The cover-up was stunning. I kind of cracked up after she revealed her next outfit underneath it. Now, I guess I'm a little biased because I am a football gay.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I did enjoy it, especially being she didn't come out in just a football jersey.
Yeah.
She stoned the hell out of it. I mean, all in all, again, we just see that Jimbo sense of humor.
Yeah.
And I live for it.
I don't know. I expected her to be dumb from her, Meet the Queens and from her interviews across the, the media aspect of Drag Race, but I don't know. I was not expecting that low-rated dumb on the talent show to the point where I was not going to be able to understand it.
Right.
Which,
I mean, I definitely understand versatility in queens and stuff, but it's also just got to be clean.
Yeah.
Is really what it is.
And it was not, I don't know. It was very polished, but it just wasn't, it wasn't it for me. So for her talent, I'm going to give it a 4. And for the runway, I'm going to give it a 6.
So for her talent, I'm gonna give her a 3, because I was kind of disappointed. In her runway though, I'm gonna give her an 8 because I really enjoyed that kind of pull, especially if she is a football gay. You know, to be able to pull that little extra of your interests.
Yeah.
Helps.
I mean, she definitely said it was repping for where, like from her being Russian to moving to Boston. So I definitely feel like it was a lot of branding with it. I don't know. It literally was the second look for me.
Right.
If the second look was different,
of football gays that do watch.
I mean, that's fair.
And so she's playing to all sides of her people and her viewers.
Sure. After Plain Jane's interesting talent, we see Derek Barry fall, thank God. Go away, Derek Barry. I'm hoping that's the last time we get to see her.
Oh my God.
But this is when we get to see the queens do the Raider Queen, which it is very interesting, speaking of Plain Jane, Shady Jane, how she does her take on it. She has this interesting idea to put the ones who are the worst in the top positions, which... If it's the idea that you want your worst competition to be your competition, that's a
cop-out.
That is a cop-out, and that also makes you look like...
Right.
Also your season, that makes your season like a low-rating season, so that's a little confusing. But also, it's not going to work like that because no one else is going to do that.
Exactly. Well, and on top of that, like, could you imagine the people that don't deserve to be in the top? That literally everyone's gonna boycott Drag Race. Like,
I mean, imagine those episodes that were obviously rigged for someone to be in the top that episode.
And now
we don't like those episodes, and you're doing it. It did not make sense for me. And I feel like everyone else voted on a pretty normal basis, which also made her theory even more unexcusable.
Right. Especially when you know nobody else is going to do it. So what's
literally
the point? I live for the drama though.
And she does. Shady Jane does stir up the drama, but through Shady Jane's rigging of a voting, it somehow I guess works for her because her and Geneva Carr managed to make it in the top 2. And I will say I was a little bit surprised by Geneva. We both kind of saw Plain Jane, although we did not understand her talent. We knew it made RuPaul die of laughing, so we knew it was going to work.
Right.
But Geneva's we were a little bit shocked by. We definitely could see Maya in the top, as well as some other people such as Nymphia. Nymphia was a huge one that we saw in the top.
We had conversation about Hershey a little bit also.
Hershey, yeah.
But I think that was really about it.
But I don't know. Geneva, I guess, surprised the judges in a way that she did not really surprise us. But with this lip sync, I don't know. Even through the song, the amazing song Showers by Becky G.
Iconic.
It was a little boring. The most entertaining part was when Plain Jane realized that her nipple was out the entire time.
3 whole minutes, and she finally realized that her nipple was out the whole time.
I don't know. It just lacked energy, in my opinion. Geneva, who I know is a dancing queen because I stalked her Instagram when she was announced on cast. Did not serve it. She did the same moves over and over.
She did not do much. Park and bark, mostly, and especially when, girl, first off, it's Drag Race, and you got like the lip sync assassin spot needs to be taken. And if you want that, you have to be able to do that. Now, I'm not necessarily saying you have to do flips and tricks, but you at least need to serve that stage. And standing in one spot is not it. She did look gorgeous. Yeah. She looked everything, but she was just so boring and didn't do much.
I agree. And even like, I don't know, Plain Jane really didn't do much either. And Plain Jane honestly kind of rubbed me the wrong way when she walked purposely in front of Geneva. That kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
Girls do that.
Yeah. But shockingly, well, maybe not so shockingly, Plain Jane is the winner of the episode. We do find out that, unshockingly, no one goes home.
Read her for filth for a hot second.
Yeah, telling her to put on a bra.
Buy yourself a bra.
But I don't know. This episode as a whole was a little bit disappointing. I thought everyone as a whole was kind of shy, kind of quiet, not really outgoing, which on a drag reality competition show you would think would be the opposite of what you're getting.
I don't know. At this point, I'm ready for the first group of girls to come back because I'm bored. Yeah. I'm ready.
And we get that next episode, thankfully. I'm super excited to see them come together. So something that we kept sending each other was Mistress talking about Plain Jane meeting, a mandatory meeting, which is going to be a site for icons and ages.
I'm waiting for Shady Jane to say something about the purple face because everybody's saying something about the purple face.
And I don't know. I'm still a little confused why everyone hates Plain Jane so much. I saw a lot of people talking about how every time she talked, they wanted to turn the TV off. And I don't really get that from her. I will admit that her talent was very annoying to me and not amusing at all. But as a whole, she's not bad.
I wonder if these are people that it's because she's shady. So I feel like, I don't know, I feel like nowadays people just aren't into the drama like we are.
Yeah.
And when I say drama, I don't mean Gia Gunn drama.
No, what you mean is the Drag Race gays don't know what drag is and don't know that shady drag queens are a thing.
Well, I thought you said it.
It's the truth though.
It really is. Especially when we find our humor in being shady.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily being shady, it's being real.
Yeah. And see, a lot of a lot of these people will sit here and be like, oh, they're giving, this person this edit and so on and so forth. And I really don't think it's that sometimes. I really just feel like it's producers showing some funny content and Drag Race fans taking it out of context.
Well, on top of that, it's a reality TV show.
Yeah.
It's going to be boring if there ain't happening.
Exactly.
And so I wonder if that's why, because she's so, I guess you can say confrontational in the shadiness, but that's what we need and that's what we want.
Yeah. We'll see if she still gets the hate next episode. Don't forget to watch the new season of RuPaul's Drag Race on MTV every single Friday. And of course, come to the channel the next week to see our spicy review and see if Plain Jane gets liked or disliked.
Shady Jane.
By us in the next episode. Yeah, I mean, that's her name on this channel, Shady Jane.
I'm not even going to call her Plain Jane no more.
New.
So let's get into all of the new things coming to the channel, shall we? So as mentioned at the beginning of the episode, Amber has officially joined the channel as the co-host of the episodes to discuss and review all of the episodes with me at Drag Race and also just to talk about the topic of Slay. So with that, we're going to be kind of changing up a little bit of the format to include a more inclusive format for both of us. And also we're going to be changing some of the names just to give Amber a little bit more of creative idea on the podcast. So you'll be seeing a new flyer, new format coming along with that. Also, recently we had the Preferred show in Dothan happen last week. That was a very fun and exciting moment. You can watch the newest reel of that. I like to always do a little video every time we do the shows just to be able to promote the show a little bit more. And there's a lot of exciting things coming with next month's The Preferred show. I will go ahead and announce that Drag the Competition will not be happening next month due to something involving I guess you would say with that preferred show coming up, but more details on that to come as it comes a little bit closer into the month. There is a new The Preferred Few coming out very, very shortly. Our guest, who had a little bit of a sickness going on, is now feeling much better. Actually, a little bit of spoiler alert. I'll let you do some background research if you really are into it. But they actually did the Preferred show with me last week, and we discussed, them healing and so on and so forth. So be looking out for that as well very, very shortly. Another thing is ask away questions, which the link for that is now up. With that, the day that we film, which will be very shortly, I'm not going to announce the exact date because then you can catch on to my scheduling and we're not going to have that. But you will be able to, I will post on my socials, you will be able to ask questions specifically on those socials for the guest coming up. You will not know who the guest is, of course, unless you do the background research and all that good stuff. But those questions will be asked live. Literally, I will pull out my phone and ask them right on set. So that's a pretty exciting new feature coming to The Preferred Few, as well as the set, which you can catch a teaser glimpse of in the newest recent video on the YouTube, the drag room tour. It literally starts off with me showing off the set. So,
and you better like it because some of us put a lot of work into it.
Also, a little background. Let's do a little background story on that because that was a pretty funny day. So, actually, I was sitting around, and a lot of it was procrastination. I will openly admit, but I was sitting here, and cancellation had been done happen for The Preferred Few, which was actually supposed to come out that week, due to sickness. And, I was much more focused on the guest healing for the show, The Preferred Show, more than The Preferred Few.
Right.
Cause that's a bigger cancellation than a video.
Okay,
That's a whole different story. Thankfully they were able to though. We turned it out with the show. In attempts of me trying to create ideas for a video and not having to worry about having to have a guest on the channel, I had the idea of doing the drag room tour. Finally, so many people have asked me about that video since I mentioned it in another video. So I thought it was an amazing idea. The only issue with that was finishing the drag room. So my crazy crackhead self decides to finish the entire drag room within a day. Get all the decorations put up, and
after
ideally,
we had shelves fall off the wall.
Yeah, ideally that was really the only thing that needed to happen was decorating and organizing. And in the middle of that, I was preparing for my show in Dothan, and preparing for other life events, and packed in a day. Literally woke up right before Amber had to go to work and was like, "Here, record me." So
as you can see, she's literally rushing me off at the end of the video.
Yeah, because I literally had to pack right after that and drive to Dothan, not just to sit there for a day and wait for the show the next day. No, I had a show that night. So I had to pack that night, drive there, and it ended up messing with my schedule a little bit, but I got the video done.
It was 7:30 and you told me you were still driving, and I'm like, girl, you were supposed to leave hours ago.
And another behind the scenes tea for that is with my show in Dothan, the main thing I wanted it done and why we were kind of in a rush for it is because I wanted everything filmed that morning so I can edit it in Dothan.
Right.
That did not happen. And I actually had to go to a drag brunch event at the place that I work at Sunday morning after my drag show. So I ended up literally staying up till 4:30 in the morning doing my drag show. Drove straight to Birmingham after that. Got into Birmingham at 7:30. So was surprised to see you already at my house.
Passed out cold.
Literally. But instead of going to sleep, I realized I did not edit that video at all. So I had to edit that video in the butt crack of dawn. We love Dawn on RuPaul's Drag Race season 16. Catch the review on week's episode. And then paint a face and go into work at 11:30 in the morning. So that was a very chaotic day. And then we tried to film this exact episode right after I got off work at 10 o'clock at night that night.
And we did it.
We did do it. It was not the best because you could visibly tell that I was tired. But actually, it kind of worked out for the best because all of that audio got lost.
And that's why we're here right now.
Yeah.
Doing this again.
Yeah, but the things, 2:19 in the morning, the things we do for drag.
I think it's time to quit.
Yeah, definitely. But as mentioned, through this very crazy story. Ask Away is now officially live on my Linktree. Make sure to go ask that for the preferred few, not the preferred show.
I need to start getting into this whole Linktree thing.
So mentioning of the Ask Away portion on the Linktree, that is now our next segment of the podcast, where we answer your hard-hitting questions. Who added their heart? Yeah. So make sure to go ask a question to be featured, such as this one. Amber and I will both be reading a question, each other, without knowing the question beforehand. So let's get into it. Amber, I'm going to go ahead and read yours first. It says, "Do you think roses are pretty or not?" And this is this is from Anonymous.
First off, that's a fantastic song.
Or not.
Roses are actually my favorite flower.
Yeah.
Personally.
That's why when I saw this and saw that it was literally... Because what I do is I just go down the line and just pick them randomly. And you're always going to be the first one as the co-host. And that fit worked perfectly.
Right. Yeah, I definitely got my love for roses from my great-grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
She loved roses. And something about the red rose, A, it's my favorite color. B, it's the meaning of love.
Yeah.
So it just kind of fits my aesthetic.
Have you always been a flower girl?
I love flowers. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm more of a candle girl than a flower girl.
Yeah.
I would take a candle over a flower.
Ooh, here's a question though. What about flower-scented candles?
No.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
The only one is lavender. Lavender is the only
lavender
one that
and linen are hands down my two least favorite smells.
Now, linen I can't do.
Yeah, linen is disgusting.
But when I like...
Screw linen.
Screw linen. Wait. Linen. That'd be a drag name.
That would be a cute drag name.
When I light candles at my place, I have 3 candles between 3 different rooms that are all different scents.
Yeah. That
intertwine together. So I guess I'm biased against the lavender because it's not just lavender I'm smelling. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm going to let you read my question.
All right. Your question reads...
Oh God, I feel like I'm in a pageant.
Contestant number 64. Your question reads, how well are you really doing right now? Ooh, the tea girl.
Well, it's from Anonymous.
Yeah, it's Anonymous.
I would like to first start off by saying, as your contestant number 64, I would like to move to contestant number 69, please.
I was hoping you'd play.
Honestly, I'm doing pretty fine now. I just got off of a rough patch in life, which, seems to happen every few months, but I am not letting that rough patch affect my life. I am covering up that rough patch. We don't like a pothole, so we cover those potholes up, unlike K.I.V. with Alabama's roads.
We like a pothead, though.
Did you get that reference though? K.I.V. That was nice.
Where our attacks going to? Not the roads.
Literally, Alabama was voted like the worst the state with the worst road system,
right?
Transportation system as a whole.
Well, and it doesn't help. I also live right outside of Center Point.
65 is like the worst road.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have to go to 65 to go anywhere for you. So.
Yeah. Unless I take 20 to go to downtown Birmingham.
Yeah. But I going back to the question. I am coming off of a little rough patch in life. But as the great, amazing Kelly Clarkson said, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger." So I'm doing good. I feel confident in the things that I have being in production at the moment.
And I can confirm she is still alive, y'all.
Yes, this is not an AI voice that you're hearing. But yeah, no, I've always been that person where when something pulls me down, I always use it to push me back up. So, yeah. And now look at me. The last preferred show was like the biggest preferred show we've ever had. The crowd was amazing. Every single entertainer made so much money. So I'm very happy of that. And in my opinion, whenever I did that show, as I do with a lot of shows, I know this is taking a lot of questions.
You made a lot of answers.
Yes. Whenever I have, and I know you're the same exact way, whenever I have something wrong go with my life, I always convert that to drag. Because drag always makes me feel so much better.
Mm-hmm. There's been a few times I've been in tears on stage during a performance because it just made me feel good. Yeah. And whenever I did that show, I saw the great feedback because I had so many great stories from people telling me that this was their first drag show that they came to and how they were just blown away. People telling me that they were excited to see the Dothan Club being turned around. Those things really prompted that what I'm doing
in the new year and what I'm doing going forward is going to be a help to me. And honestly, going in the new year, me, hashtag me.
That part, amen to that.
Yeah. Other people, if they're not helping me, being a help, and I know that sounds selfish, but in the sense of like, if people really know me, they know I sometimes overly help people. I will go out of reach for people and it ends up hurting myself. And I'm not doing that this year.
Well, and nowadays, like, unfortunately, you just gotta tiptoe around people in general because you never know who is genuine anymore.
Yeah.
Like, people just play games anymore, no matter what the game is. And, I mean, I don't blame you, especially being, you as a person is the number one person, or the number one.
Oh, I mean, I know. The number one person.
Well, I mean, anyway. If you were that. But, yourself is the number one priority that you have over anything. So that's why I now, ever since my divorce, I now live by the fact that if you think I'm selfish and you think I'm giving off a certain kind of me only energy, I'm okay with that because that's giving you the opportunity to not take advantage of me, and I can just go on doing my own thing. Yeah. Well,
the biggest downfall of being nice is being used.
Exactly. So unfortunately, sometimes.
And I don't in my brain, I don't worry with myself as being selfish anymore because that was a huge fear for me with, trying to focus on myself and, try to set priorities in myself. I don't really see that as a worry for me anymore because I know for a fact I can't stand selfishness and I can't stand selfish people. So I know that will never be me.
Right. And when I say selfish, I mean tasteful selfishness because there is a tasteful amount that is okay.
Yeah. Now, of course. I mean, you have to take care of yourself.
Exactly. Especially if it comes down to the progression of you or your drag or you as a person or just work in general. Like, you have to be able to progress yourself. And, if you worry about others and you're like, oh, this person deserves it more than me, even though at the end of the day it's because of seniority or they don't end up deserving it, or you have the same equal amount as they do and you're pushing yourself back, you just can't do that. Yeah. You gotta rise above the occasion.
Yeah. So that's something definitely that we're taking into the new year. And what we're also taking into the new year? This incredible podcast.
Slay.
So with us being all talked out, it's time to end the episode. Make sure to follow me on all social medias at The Only Preferred, and especially on YouTube for a brand new video every Sunday.
And you can follow me on all my socials at Amber_V_Valentine on Instagram and TikTok, and Amber V Valentine on Facebook.
Make sure to leave a comment of who your favorite was from this episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 16.
And follow for more episodes of the Preferred Podcast every Wednesday on Spotify and YouTube at 2 p.m.
Yes.
No sooner, no later.
Yes.
Because it'll be scheduled.
I'm telling you, I'm getting on hook of that. You know what I mean? I really am. Even if it means pulling an all-nighter, not going to sleep and going straight into work to make sure it's edited and scheduled, the will be done.
Y'all are welcome.
It's been nice talking.
And we'll talk to y'all later.
Stay preferred.
And full of love.